Okay, welcome back. Today we are moving on to volume. So we've spent the past several lessons looking at two-dimensional shapes. Then we moved on to three-dimensional shapes, and we looked at the surface area, meaning if we were going to wrap our shape in wrapping paper, and how much paper would it need. Well, now we're going to look at, well, what if I've got my shape and I want to actually fill it like a box? How much stuff could I fit inside the box? And so that's called volume. Today we're going to focus on prisms, particularly triangular prisms and rectangular prisms. So these are going to be our focus today. We will talk a little tiny bit about cylinders, but those are actually going to be a whole nother lesson, although it is really just a slightly different type of prism. As you can see, it just has a circle on the base instead of a polygon. So our formula is area of the base times height. So again, we're continuing to really focus on what is the base shape, identifying that base shape, finding its area, just like we did for surface area, although now we want to know, well, how many layers could we fit inside the box? So I like to think of this as if I was filling the box up with Legos or with blocks or with sugar cubes, and I wanted them to fit in there as tightly as I could. How many cubes are units for volume, or cubic units? How many cubes could I fit inside of that box? So we are going to start out looking at some prisms. And again, our volume formula for a prism, it has a matching base on the top and the bottom, is area of the base times height. So we're going to take a look at an example of a prism, like a box of cereal. Now, it's really important when we have our prisms that we make note of what the base shape is. It is not always the top and the bottom. Remember, when you're talking about your base, you're looking for two shapes that are identical. So in a rectangular prism, you actually have quite a bit of choice. So I usually just choose the top and the bottom to make it easiest for myself. So I've got this green rectangle, and if I were to think about it, the bottom of the cereal box is the same shape and the same size. So we're going to go ahead and start finding our volume, which is area of the base, times the height. That would tell me how many layers. So the height would be the distance from top to bottom of the cereal box. So we'll go ahead and think about our base area. This is always going to be a formula. That's why it's a capital B. So it's not going to be a single number. You have to think about what shape is our base and how do I find its area. So in this case, our base is a rectangle. So I find a rectangle by doing length times width. So that's where I would want to start, is length times width. And after I've multiplied the length and width, then I'm going to multiply it by the height. Now some of you are going, wait a minute, that looks like a formula I started learning back in 4th grade. And it is. This is just the standard formula for a rectangular prism, but we're going to look at all different types of prisms. So that's why we needed to go in a little more detail. So my base rectangle is 6 by 3, so 6 times 3. And the height of my cereal box is 10, so times 10. So now I just need to multiply these all together, 6 times 3 times 10, and I get a total volume of 180. And now my units are cubic units. So make sure you really pay attention to the units being cubic. That basically means I could fit 180 cubes inside of the box, and the cubes would all be 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. Okay, let's take a look at a triangular prism. Triangles tend to give us a little bit more trouble, so we'll spend a little bit of time looking at the triangular prism. So again, the first thing I want to do is I always want to identify that base shape. So it's the triangle. Got a matching triangle on the top and the bottom. And I'm going to write my formula. Volume equals area of the base times the height of the prism. Now this time, my base shape is a triangle? So I need to think, oh, well, how do I find the area of a triangle? It's 1/2 base of the triangle times height of the triangle. And then I'm going to multiply that by height of the prism. Now notice there's a reason I'm really wanting to focus on the different colors, because this height and this height are very, very, very different. This is the height of the triangle. Okay, the purple height is the height of the prism. So I want to make sure that I don't get that confused. It is a little confusing since we're using the letter H for both of them. So when I'm looking at my triangle, I can see, although I've colored it up a little bit, so let me kind of erase some of that stuff that I've written down there. I can see that I've got that red dotted line, and it's telling me it's 10. That's the height of my triangle. So I have volume equals 1/2 times my base is this side here, which I have to look at the bottom to see that it's 12. So 12 times 10. Then the height of my prism is how tall is the triangle. So I'm multiplying that then by 14. So now I can grab my calculator and I can do all of this multiplication. 10 times 12 times 14 times 1/2, and I get 840 cubic feet. So I could fit 840 cubes that are 1 foot by 1 foot inside of there.